Tonight we're stripping the cab in part 2 of Project Dynamo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and we're going to take a look at something that's, a little bit out of the ordinary for the channel. Something a little bit big. Not 3/4, but 1 to 100%. What would the relationship be? Would that be 4/4? 4/4? Well, that's what we're looking at today. 4/4 makes $1, and we're looking at a big cab. That's the main point. I'm a little frustrated tonight because I wanted to ask you all a specific question. And for some reason, let me try it again, and YouTube is going to let me do it. Okay, so the poll is now live. Yes, there you go. It's a simple question. Do you currently or have you ever owned a real arcade? I'm trying to gauge, am I the only one? Because I don't think that I am. I think there's a lot of people out there that have these. But what is your level of excitement for it? Has Arcade One Up, has iArcade, has all the other companies completely just wiped the slate clean and you don't want these anymore and you just want the little guys? I don't think so. For me personally, there's a big thing out there. There's a big reason why I remain interested. I had these cabinets before. I've gotten a new one, and there's a big reason why, and it's because I don't believe that any arcade company, current small 3/4 scale arcade company, is going to make all the games. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's some deep cuts out there that you and I are not going to be able to buy a recreation of. I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe eventually someday, but there's just a part of me that thinks there's just going to be something out there, heaven forbid, that's not, Street Fighter. It's not going to be Mortal Kombat that you want to play, and you're not going to be able to play it on a recreation by anybody. And I think that's probably the biggest driver for me to get back into it, to say, okay, I've got my 3/4 scale arcade. I love it, but I think I want to have a few of the big guys, one of the real arcades. I think I want to have something, and it's going to be niche stuff that nobody's going to reproduce, because at the end of the day, you and I both know that these cabinets, these companies that make these little cabinets, they want to make money and they want to go for the sure thing. And in some ways that's great. In some ways that's not so great. But anyway, so that's where we're going. Let your voice be heard. Tell me what you think in the poll. I really want to know who's got one, who's had one, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, because we're going to get into part 2. What have I been doing with this cabinet since you saw it last? But before we get into that, I want to say hi to everybody that decided to stop by and share their Saturday night with me here in the chat. So we got Chris says huge monitor space. Yes, indeed, absolutely. Chris Angelos. Yes, Angelo. I thought for some reason, I was thinking of like Superman and Lois, and I thought your name was Chris and Lois for some reason. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Billy Wright says, well, this should be interesting. I hope that it's interesting. It's a little bit different change of pace. You guys know that I've had this thing kicking around for a while. I've talked about it, and there's even a part 1 on my channel where I can introduce the world's the greatest hidden treasure in Surf Planet. Surf Planet gave me some problems, and we're going to take a look at that in part 2 for sure. Alfred Burke says, what's up? A wave and a fox and a drink tonight. It's just Coke. You know what? Cola. I'm waiting for that sponsorship from Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whoever really wants to sponsor the channel. Come on in. But you're not going to get it for free. You're going to have to pay for it. They're not going to sponsor me. They're not. It's not going to happen. But a guy can dream, can I? Hi, Alfred. And drink from Biggie D's Arcade. What's going on, man? Dark Kick Eden, how you doing? Vaisel, sup, y'all? How you doing? And also, I've got a new mic. Let me know what you think about it in the chat. Too loud? Is it bad? Is it off? Am I quiet? Is it just messed up? It is on. Okay, just want to make sure. Just you never really know. As soon as you make a change, you know something's going to go crazy. You know something's going to go awry. So just let me know if you hear anything funny, or if you don't hear me at all, like with the iArcade stream. That was disappointing, to say the least. Basil says, I just wouldn't have that much room. This is what it always comes down to. And none of the women in my house will help me move them either. Also, a very good point. They're big, they're heavy. Probably the 2 biggest downfalls. Well, we're going to get into one of the, actually, I'm going to start off with one of the biggest downfalls. Maybe in retrospect, could be the number 1 downfall for a big full-size arcade. My brother, $5. Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger. I don't own yet, but seriously looking into a few. Star Wars Trilogy for sure. And I want at least maybe 3 or 4. Cheers, brother. Cheers to you indeed. Thanks for stopping by the channel. Space is an issue. Space is always an issue with no matter what we do, even if we go with 3/4 scale. How many? Where are they going to fit? Where are they going to go? Usually, most of us don't have a room extra that we can just kind of have allocated just to our hobby. Some people do. It takes over an office. It takes over a basement. It takes over a shed outside, like other YouTubers have done. But it's always going to be an issue no matter what you do, no matter how much room you have. You're going to fill it up with this hobby. It's not for the faint of heart for sure. Music my hey everyone. Koga Jangles, Conga Jangles, Koga like yoga, Koga Jangles like Mr. Bojangles. Dance. That's a good song. Good evening, Fox and Jet. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we got the Rad Des here. Evening all. Cog Hill Arcade. Hello. Hello. And MG. I have lost the will to live. Meh. That's horrible. That's horrible. Oh, it's because you're so tired. Listen, sit back, relax, grab a beverage of your choice, and let's talk about some silly arcades and let your mind unwind. Sounds like you had a long day, buddy. Sounds like you had a long day. Let's relax. Yeah, it's Koga like yoga, only with a K. Exactly. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Quentin says, "Hi all. How you doing? Nice to see you." So we're going to do this. So a little bit of a backstory. So part one, I introduced everyone to the greatest arcade of all time. I've talked about this, Surf Planet. Amazed that nobody's really done a whole video on this. It's got a limited control scheme. It does have licensed music. I think that's one thing. Maybe I didn't point that out in the original episode or the first episode, was that it has license. Or you can actually go look up these songs and you can find them on iTunes right now. I've got one of the songs downloaded. It was pretty good. It's came out in 97. So it's very sort of, kind of grunge kind of. The one song I got reminds me of like Cranberries. So, if you're into that sort of kind of music, you're probably going to like that soundtrack. So it has some redeeming qualities. It's Atari. That's simple control. So it's a plus and a minus, a positive and a negative, maybe. Anybody could play it. The kids can play it. Anybody can play it. The joystick really just goes left and right. There's not a lot of joy in that. It just goes left and right. Doesn't go forward or back, but to each his own. That and a start button. So I get this thing, and I really got it. And I know I said this in the video, and I think I've told everybody, I got this for the cabinet itself, for the Dynamo HS5. It is my favorite. I'm just going to say it. It's my favorite multi-cab. What does multi-cab mean? Well, it doesn't mean multiple games. This was made by a company called Dynamo, and they made these for everybody. Everybody put everything in them. So you had Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, you had everything in it. Everybody had their stuff in it. I think I've even seen an SNK version of this. Basically, cabinet, you put the guts in, and away you go. This was, like I said, this was mid-90s when they were really starting to kind of move away from specific. I mean, there was a lot of money involved in making the game and then making the cabinet. So game-specific cabinets were starting to kind of go by the wayside until production changed and things got a little bit more streamlined. And then we saw kind of a resurgence with some of the crazy over-the-top games. But of course, those games got a lot more expensive too. But one thing that's going to ease that is going to be a $2 super chat from Cog Hill Arcade. My wife let me have the garage to put my arcade in. She loves you, and you've got a great marriage, and it will last a lifetime. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Mike, what's going on? Moat, how you doing, buddy? Good evening, Fox. Good evening to you, sir. Talking about a little full-size action. Full-size action, indeed. Yes, Moat, we see you, and we love you. Glad you're here, buddy. Yeah, so that was part one, right? And we enjoyed the glory of Surf Planet almost, because you see the monitor was wrecked. Now it's a nice monitor. It's a Wells Gardner K7401 is the model number. So it's a great company. The frame, the actual chassis. Now this is interesting. The frame supports the actual monitor itself, the tube and everything. The chassis is not the frame. The chassis is just the board that houses all of the electrical components. That's some terminology that I don't know that I was really familiar with in the past. I just sort of had like the monitor in my head, and then I thought that the chassis or the frame were interchangeable. That's not the case. So dummy me had those two confused. But the chassis is just a circuit board that kind of drives the whole picture into the tube itself. So, I'm making all the adjustments on the back of the chassis, and I'm not having any luck. This thing is washed out. It's crazy. It looks really bad. If you go back and watch that video, you can see it's not good. It's not good at all. So I started doing some research, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix it myself because I do everything myself because I'm dumb because I don't know what I was getting into. Because at the time I thought, okay, hey, no problem. I got the cab for cheap. It was $500, no big deal. I'll just go in there and picked up a cap kit, no problem. Then I ran into the problem of a flyback. Now the flyback is like the transformer. It's like the main bad boy that drives the tube. And I thought no big deal. Flybacks are out there everywhere. Not for my monitor. The K7401, the 7400 series of Wells Gardner flybacks are out of stock everywhere. So what I wanted to do was do a mini restoration of Surf Planet. Just a new marquee, clean up that control panel, put in a new monitor or fix my monitor, and then have some real gameplay. That's not going to happen. So I removed the monitor, did what I could, couldn't find the parts, reached out to a local guy. Actually, he's up in Dayton. I live near Cincinnati. Dayton, Ohio. This guy's sort of, I'm talking to him. He does a lot of rebuilds, and he's like, yeah, Fox, you're kind of out of luck. That flyback, you ain't going to find it. It's tough. It's tough to find. So I've got him making me a 7000 series Wells Gardner, and going to see if he'll maybe just take this monitor in on trade because I don't know when that's going to come in, and I don't know that I'm going to really need an additional monitor. So maybe he'll give me $5. I don't know, some kind of a core, like a core charge. When you go and you buy brakes or something for your car, and you got a car or battery, get the core charge, swap it out. I don't know. We'll see. Knock on wood, right? Maybe that'll work. So that's what I got going on there. So I thought, well, I might as well go ahead and just start the teardown. Let's go ahead and rip this thing up because, yes, I'm not going to keep this as a Surf Planet game. It's fine. But to me, there's no nostalgia there whatsoever. John D didn't even know what the hell it was. There's a lot of people that didn't even know that this game even existed. So I decided to start the teardown. And instead of doing a video with a bunch of editing and maybe not answer all your questions, I thought that we could take this time to talk about real arcades and show you the progress of this build so far. So let's go ahead and get the ball rolling with part one, which is okay. So here we go. So we're going to start, when you see the video, the monitor's out and I'm going to start stripping the cab. We're going to go with artwork. We're going to go with T-molding and everything. So without further ado, look at this guy. Hey, fella. What are you doing? You're making too much sense, man. Come on, don't be spoiling the end now. Come on. But no, spoiler alert. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. And I want to show this to you so that you can kind of see what you're getting into if you decide to get one of these cabinets, what's going to be involved, if you want to maybe swap it out for a different game or just restore your cabinet, back to what it was. Maybe you actually bought the cab with the game you wanted in it, which is the right way to go. Let me just tell you right now, arcade boards are not cheap in any way, shape, or form, especially if you want to do the thing that you probably bought the cabinet for. You want to build a cabinet for a game that nobody else is going to make. Arcade1Up's not going to make it. IRK is not going to buy it and draw. And you can download that game. You're probably doing it because it's something that's going to be weird and off the wall. Those boards are going up. Funny. I know that CPS2 boards and Street Fighter boards are out there a lot, so maybe that's why the price is a little bit down. But the weird stuff, it's going up. It's going up. So just be aware that you're probably looking at $300 to $400, depending on the game you want. Just the PCB. Just the PCB. So the way I'm doing it is absolutely not the most economical, but for me, it's going to be the most fun. So let's go ahead and get started with the video. And because this was, 97 was not that long ago. It seems like it was long ago. And when you do the math, it's like, oh, that's what was it, like 25 years? Yeah, it's like 25 years ago. But in arcade terms, it's not that bad. So this vinyl is actually, and yes, it is vinyl. I was worried this sticker might have been like paper-backed, but it is vinyl and it's coming up pretty easy with a little bit of heat. I'm not even using the heat gun, like just pouring the heat to it. I'm kind of hitting it and pulling away. And listen, for those of you that were Surf Planet purists, sorry, it's got to go. It's got to watch the thumb too when you're doing this. Watch it. You're going to burn your hand really because this is not a hair dryer. But as easy as this is coming off, you might be able to use a hair dryer. But just be forewarned, if your sticker is not vinyl like this is, you're going to fight it and you're going to cuss and you're going to hate yourself and you're probably going to want to maybe use chemicals or something. But luckily, this thing came off not in one piece, but it came off okay. And the what is it? What is the black? It's the melamine. What is that? It's the coating on the cabinet. That's not just paint. That's actual plastic. The MDF is laminated with this. I think it's melamine. I think it's what they call it. So it's black. It's like a laminate that's on there, similar to like a countertop, like the cheap wood countertops that Lowe's has. That's what's on there. So you've got that vinyl stuck to the plastic, and it peels up pretty easy. So that's not bad. So the artwork is going to come off. I just have those. The more generic cabs, yes, there we go. Melamine, Mela yours, Mela ours. It's everyone's Mela, whatever that means. So depending on the artwork, I mean, if you have full artwork on the side, it could be a little more difficult. It's probably going to have more rips and tears. Mine, this is more of a generic game. So I was lucky. I just have the 18 inches wide by like 32 inches long. It's just the rectangle. They stick it on the side, and there you go. Now, they even did this for like Street Fighter too. They just had a black cabinet, stuck a sticker on the side, good to go. So I was kind of lucky, thank God. And there's no mysteries behind it. So I could move on to the T molding. Now, when it comes to the T molding, what you want to be aware of is that usually the T molding, now it has to start and end somewhere, right? Usually it's on the bottom of the cab. So with this Dynamo HS5, you've got it kind of on a pedestal. The cab itself is on a riser. So I've got like a 4-inch, maybe 3-inch advantage. So I don't have the T molding sitting on the ground. If you've got a cab like that, it's probably going to be chewed up. It's going to be really tough because, you're dragging this thing around. It's sliding on the T molding itself. It's probably going to be trashed. But luckily, mine is spaced up, so it's not bad. And since it has to start and end somewhere, I typically go with the bottom. So the seam for mine is actually right where my hand is, and you can use a screwdriver if you want to. But remember, you're talking about wood that's like 25 years old. So to be kind to the wood, to not destroy it, to maintain that melamine on the side, let's go ahead and use like a plastic spudger or a plastic pry tool. I got this, man, I've had this set of pry tools forever. I work on cars and I pop interior panels. So I got a set of these, just some kind of a flat plastic, whatever, just to kind of get it started. Now, once you get it started, you'll find that it's really not that bad. Then it's really, unless you get a cabinet that maybe has a lot of, glue inside, it's just going to come right off. And you're going to see a lot of the old wood come apart. So you really want to be kind of careful when you get to a point where you think it might be binding and there's a lot of adhesive. Just take your time, maybe get the heat gun out. But luckily, I mean, you see this thing is just peeling right off. And it was incredibly satisfying to just have this peel off the side here. Go all the way around. The old wood is gone. The old black T molding is gone. Now, the next step for me was to actually put some good feet on this. Now, you see the box, and this is a great shot of the box. You can see how those side panels are elevated off the floor. But the box doesn't just sit on the ground. You see those metal brackets on the side. Underneath is a threaded insert, and that's where you actually have the feet of the cabinet. So there's one at each corner, obviously. A couple of mine were trashed. I think I even was missing one. And these things you can find on eBay for cheap. I think I got a set of 4 brand new for like $4. And then all they do is just screw into the bottom. Now, the key thing is going to be obviously safety first. So once you lift this thing up, put a 2x4 into there. That'll give you plenty of room to work, and go ahead and thread this in the bottom. Just kind of find the hole. And, I've got a brand new set, so they thread in pretty easy, but you might want to use a little, not Loctite, but anti-seize on the threads. It'll allow that to kind of screw up and down nice and easy. That's kind of a lubricant for the threaded inserts there. And you see it's already looking better. Look at that. A brand new part. Come on, it's beautiful. And then take the wood out when you're done, and then go ahead and go to the other side. This is going to allow this thing to slide on the floor a lot easier too. Okay, now here is the fun part. We're going to take a close look at this control panel, because this thing is kind of nasty. But before we get into that, we're actually going to look at the game board itself. Now, this is a Dynamo HS5. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Most of the Dynamo cabinets are going to open up this way and allow you access to the board, but not all of the arcades are going to open up the same way. Some of them have a removable panel in the back, some of them in the front, and that's how you get the game board out. This is going to vary based on the cabinet you get. So if you're concerned about that, maybe do a little bit of research. One of the reasons why I love this cabinet is because of this feature. You can pull this thing out, and it ends up acting like just a table, and you can work on the wiring and the PCB really, really easy. So let's go ahead and jump back into it. There's a latch underneath. You open up the coin door. There's a single latch in the middle, allows that to swing down. And then you pull this up. Now there's going to be 2 locks in the back, kind of in the middle, I should say, on that board there. If you watch the first episode, I go through that in a little more detail. And just bring it out and slide it. And there's the game board. Now, most of the game boards are not going to be this nice, covered in this big metal shroud. But this Atari multi-board setup, it's actually a couple boards inside, is shrouded with this piece of metal, and it's pretty nice. This is a 7/16 wrench I'm using for these 4 bolts. These are the main 4 bolts that connect the control panel to this piece of wood. But I'm just taking this off to get the ground wire off because I want to disconnect the control panel completely from this piece of wood. So I'm going to start by taking off this ground wire and setting it off to the side. Now, it goes without question, but I need to go ahead and say it. The cabinet is unplugged. I don't have it's not plugged in the wall. It's not powered on. It's completely powered off. So if you're going to do any kind of electrical work, disconnect anything on your cabinets, it goes without saying, but I want to say it again. Make sure you take the time, unplug it. And if you can take the cord completely out of your power supply, go ahead and do that. It's better to be safe. Exercise a little bit of caution. You don't want to get shocked. Okay, now, depending on your wiring harness, you see like right here, what I've got is I've got a main harness and I've got sub harness that connect to the main harness. So if you want to service this control panel, you're going to see these 2 disconnects right here. They're 2 little sockets you can pull out. And because of the nature of these, and I'm going to show you in detail a little bit in just a minute here, I'm going to go ahead and mark these so that I don't get them confused. Now, it's going to be less crucial for my control panel because I'm getting rid of it anyway. I'm ditching it. But what you've also, I've really got limited controls. I've got 1 potentiometer and then just 1 start button. That's it. But if you've got like a 6-player layout, most of these, wires are going to be connected to an individual button. And if you swap these for some reason and you go to play the game, your controls are going to be all off. So it's important to keep track of that. So before I go taking apart anything, I'm just going to go ahead and mark these, and I'm just going to do a 1 and a 2 just to make sure that they connect in the same way that I disconnect them. Now, to prove the point, when you pull these out, just a slide disconnect, you can see that they're keyed on the bottom. They got the little triangles, the little pointy pieces, so it looks like they're keyed. Like, okay, this can only go in one way. Well, that's true for that connector, but when you open up the second one, you're going to see that this is, since I get this thing out, there we go. You can see that, wow, that looks really similar. I wonder if I could swap these 2 because they surely do. They look like it's possible. So let's plug 2 into 1, and sure enough, yep. So keep that in mind when you're doing this, when you're unplugging sub harnesses as part of your main harness. Just take a little time to think about that. You'll save yourself a bunch of headache, down the road. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and disconnect. Now, this is the potentiometer wire that was connected to this like a JAMA breakout board on this particular cabinet. Yours may vary. Going to go ahead and take off the remaining 3 bolts that hold on this control panel, and then we can drop that out now that all the wiring is disconnected and slide it and just kind of get it out of the way. That gorgeous, gorgeous control panel with that all crooked, wonky joystick. We'll set that off to the side for now. We're going to come back to that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect the JAMA connection, kind of lay that off to the side. And it's really just going to be 4 screws that hold down this whole big contraption to the board itself. And this is just, metal screws going into wood. So if you see that maybe the holes aren't, maybe they're a little walled out, maybe they're a little bit stripped out, maybe the screws aren't quite right. When you go to put the board back in, you can slide the board off to the left or right. You don't have to reuse those same holes. Sometimes they get wore out. Sometimes people are taking these boards in and out, and they could, the holes just don't have, the screws aren't really holding that board down. And when you put this thing back in the cabinet, it's going to be at like a 45-degree angle. So you want to make sure that it's secure. So whether you got to get new screws, maybe different screws, maybe a bit thicker screw, or just shift the actual box itself to the left or the right and drill brand new holes. Just kind of keep that in mind as you're working. Let's get back to the video. You can definitely use a screw gun like this when you're taking something out, but when you're putting it back in, you really want to exercise caution and put them in by hand if you can. It's just going to prevent you from stripping anything out. Now, here's just a little bit of a detail on the bottom. This thing looks cherry. I mean, this thing looks so sick. I mean, if you were into this game, this would be the board you want to get. There is a little bit of dust, just a little, just a smidge. But I mean, for a game this old, it's really not that bad. Really not that bad. But to prove the point, let's go ahead and take a look inside. Now, there's just one additional screw right there. We're going to go ahead and slide this cover off. It feels like there's some plutonium in there or something. It's like this is really heavy duty for just a PCB. Usually these boards are just kind of out in the open when you open up your arcade cabinet. This thing is really rugged. You can see just a lot of chips there, many things going on to run this super simple game. And then you see the fan down there. It's pretty dusty, but overall the inside of the cabinet is not that bad. I'll go ahead and put that back together, and then I'll put that in the parts room, the parts cage for use at another time. I'm sure I'm probably going to end up selling that thing. Am I going to get any money for it? Probably not, but if I'm not going to use it, I want to send it to somebody who maybe needs it. I mean, maybe somebody's got a Surf Planet cab and they got to have this board. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. So it's in the no, that is not no. It's on a shelf. It's on a shelf. I've maintained the wiring harness, so I could sell it as a bundle, trade it or something. If somebody wants it, they can. They'll pay for shipping. I might just sell it to somebody who wants to pay the shipping. So that's kind of where we're at right now as far as the cabinet itself. Now we're going to go into what is going to end up probably taking, believe it or not. Now let's say you got a cabinet and you're just going to refresh the cabinet. So you take the PCB out, maybe you're going to clean it. Maybe you leave the PCB in place and you just clean it. You blow off the dust, you maybe make sure that the battery, sometimes these PCBs have batteries on them and they're removable. They're actually replaceable. You don't have to desolder them. Then you can maybe get another battery on there and call it good. Let's say your wiring harness is in good shape, or maybe you replace the wiring harness, pin for pin, point for point. That's going to be fairly simple. And let's say your monitor's good. Okay, so maybe you're going to get some new artwork on the side. Maybe you're going to change the light behind the marquee. For the most part, it's not that difficult. Takes a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of money too, because artwork is not cheap. But the thing that's really going to get you is going to be the control panel. If you bought this used from an arcade, from somebody, if it's a private owner, maybe they were light on their control panel. But if you bought this thing out of some arcade or from some amusement company that farm these things out everywhere, if the box is in decent shape, and usually it's the bottom of the box, right? The number one thing that's going to just be destroyed is going to be your control panel. It takes all the beating, people grinding on it, just pulling on the levers and smashing the buttons and just killing joysticks. It's crazy. It's going to take all the abuse. So this is going to be the thing that is probably going to require the most of your attention. And think about it. If you're going to put this thing back together for yourself, you want it to look good, but you also want it to function. And what you're going to see in a minute is that when I actually take this thing apart and get all the artwork off, I'm going to find some not so idealistic situations. And I really wanted to highlight this because if I wanted to get a new control panel, so you saw that it's just a couple, 4 bolts, right? And you take it off. These Dynamo control panels are out there for the HS5s, and they're available. Some of them are brand new. I found an eBay seller that's selling them basically brand new. Looks like it's new old stock. Looks great. Even powder coated black, ready to go. For $230 plus $50 to ship it. So almost $300 for just a metal control panel. That's it. Now, if I didn't have one, if this thing was shot, I might go that route. But come on, $300 for a monitor, $500 for the cabinet, another almost $300 for just a replacement control panel. I haven't even gotten into the buttons, the joysticks, all that, which they aren't that expensive, but come on. And then like I always say, artwork is a killer. Artwork is incredibly expensive. If you want to get the good stuff, and even if you get the bad stuff or the not so good stuff, it's still going to be pricey. So let's go into the control panel. Any questions before we got? It's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions whatsoever? Now, Emery Arcade. Now let's be kind to the good people at Atari, all right, who took the time to make. It was probably harder to actually get the license for some of the music, to be perfectly honest with you. It's so weird. Surf Planet creators don't even own the game themselves. Come on. I'm sure they got dev kits from back in the day, back in the 90s when they were listening to grunge and they had their flannel on, I don't know, rocking their Birkenstocks, and they were developing this game. I'm sure somebody somewhere has got that rocking for sure. A fun pin right there. That's a fun pin. You're talking about some kind of pinball machine. Everybody talking about pinball machines. I need to get one. I need to get one. So moving on, let's go ahead and get into the thing that's going to be the toughest one. It's going to be the toughest part of any arcade build. That's going to be your control panel. So let's take a look at this bad boy. Now we got to get this thing disassembled, and God, you can just see the rusty fasteners. Now the wiring harness for the most part is going to be pretty simple because, I don't have a 6-button layout. I just got the one button and then a joystick. So I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect the, I'm actually going to take out the switch that's mounted to the button. Just go ahead and take that out. And then we're going to be left with this single little bitty harness. The whole harness is basically done, right? I'm not going to use any of that. And there was a couple crimp-on fittings that were damaged when I was taking it apart because he had so much bundled up there. It's like a rat's nest. And when I was taking the cabinet apart for the first time, I snagged one of those. So I'm just going to ditch it. I've got a new wiring harness anyway. So let's keep going. So you're going to have this is just a little breakout part. And the big thing now, the wiring aside, to get this thing out, on the surface, it looks simple. It's just four screws. What could possibly go wrong? Simple. You can see we're going to have different fasteners. You got like a security Torx over there on the left, the upper left, and then you're going to have what looks like, I think, just a standard hex over there on the right. So let's go ahead and dig into this. Now, luckily, I try to be prepared for all occasions. So I got a set of these. These are available on Amazon. These are the Torx Allen wrenches, and you can see, there he goes. It's actually a T25. But the thing is, there's a relief in the middle. There's a hole in the middle to accommodate that little, what I assume is some kind of a security thing, some security little bump. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. And two of those, luckily, two of them out of the four were that T25. No problem. Take those out. They were kind of long-winded. The actual joystick itself is threaded, so I took that out. Now, I wasn't so lucky with the other two, so I had to get all my other Allen wrenches to kind of figure out what the hell was going to be the size for this. Luckily, they also were the same size. Red is that's standard. Yeah. So yeah, my red Allen wrenches are standards. That was a standard size. I can't remember what the size was. So, okay, that accomplished, no problem. Now, what I had done is I switched over to the handle. You got to take the handle off now. You got the 4 screws done. Take the handle off and then slide this whole apparatus out. What's up, Kongs? How you doing, buddy? We're getting deep into the dismantling, the disassembly, the stripping of the cabinet. Okay, so now I was going to try to cut this the rubber off, and but I found that there's a fastener on the bottom, another one. So I thought I would just use the same Allen wrench. No, of course not. So we had to go and switch over to. I actually ended up using. I think I grabbed a blue one. Yeah. So this was a metric. So I had to use all 3 sets. So just to get this one part off, I ran into this kind of a snag. Now, luckily, I got a bunch of tools because of what I do, but you need to be aware of this. If you decide to get into some of these, the control panels seem to take all the abuse, right? They take all the abuse, so the repairs are questionable to say the least. I paused it right here. You can take a look over in the left-hand corner, and you'll notice them on the far right-hand corner too. There are these 2 holes that somebody drilled, and I don't know why. I think they were trying to keep the control panel from being pulled up because those 4 holes there were screws that were actually screwed down into the wood that the control panel kind of fastens to. I guess somebody was trying to yank on this, which is weird because this joystick, it just goes left and right. It doesn't even go forward and back. So somebody was just cranking on this thing, and they decided, well, to fix it, let's just ram some screws into the wood. That's not the right way to do it. It's not the right way to do it at all, and it damaged the control panel. But you can see once I got that one fastener off, this just slides off, and you can get the rest of the actual joystick. Listen, RK1 ain't making this. Check this thing out. This is chunky, and it only goes, this is for just something that goes left and right. But it's really cool. I've actually got a brand new one, a new old stock from IL. So I've got this original, and then I've got a new one. So when I sell this whole thing, when I sell the PCB, I'm going to also sell the probably both these joysticks in case somebody needs the potentiometer or maybe they want parts. So I'll do this whole thing as a package. Now, the backside is primarily fasteners, nuts that are going to be attached to those bolts that are sticking through for the clear plexiglass cover. That's what I'm doing now. and they were 10 millimeter. You got to get multiple tools to kind of get down to the crevice. The point there is tough to get into. You can't just use a socket. Excuse me. Because you just don't have that much room. So I should have gotten a wrench, but I didn't have a speed wrench in 10 mil. So I just decided just to grab my okay. And don't judge me. I know what you're thinking. The Cobalt pliers, really? Really? Okay. I just had those. I have a cheap set of tools in the arcade. Okay. I got the arcade. I got the console room. I got the little closet where I have stuff. I got tools and stuff. And this is just some of the cheap stuff I leave over there. Okay. Don't judge me. The good stuff is over in the shop. So just, I know the hate mail was coming. Just try to cut that off at the pass. So anyway, back to the video. Got all those off. And then it's just a matter of kind of driving those carriage bolts out so you can get this off the front. And now we get into some of the funky stuff. So you obviously got the R work on top there. Sort of peels off. It's kind of nasty. But what you got underneath is, I guess because they weren't, and you can see when I hit this with the heat gun, it sort of exposes all of the punch outs, the knockouts for the 6-button layout. These cabinets were made for everything. So the 6-button layout is there. It's underneath this like weird, like tar paper. It was like a thick, really, really thick, paper or not even vinyl. It's something thicker than that, I would imagine. So as you rest your hands, you wouldn't really feel the holes underneath the vinyl. But then they put the Lexan on top, the deck protector on top. So I don't know what the purpose of this was. Maybe just to reinforce that cheap vinyl. But you can see there it is. So I'm breaking out the heat gun to try to get some of this off, and you can see it's like what is it's like some stuff you put on your roof, like somebody's roofing their house with this damn thing. But you work at it, and eventually it comes off. The heat gun does really good. Like I said, don't leave this in one spot for too long because it'll melt it, and then it just makes the problem worse. So I got this off, but what it left behind. Come on, Fox. Use your muscles. Come on, do it. Tear off the one little piece, and it came off, so it's all gone. But you can see the residue and the holes and the butchery. I mean, look at that freaking hole in the middle. I mean, what did you do? And look at the holes, the reliefs they actually drilled in this thing to just clearance those small little bolts, those little bitty bolts that need to stick through and actually, attach the joystick. They just destroyed it. It's like they took a small drill bit and it was maybe a little too small, or maybe the hole wasn't exactly where it needed to be. So they just egged it out, right? If you ever done that where you stick a drill bit in and you just, I need to, instead of grabbing a different size and re-drilling the hole, let's just wiggle the drill around. It's horrible. It's disrespectful of this Dynamo cabinet. So you can see all the residue, and come on. What are you doing there? It's right in the middle of the control panel. It's not good. So there we are with, the teardown basically complete. The monitor was out, between these videos. So this is what we're left with. So I did what most of you probably do. Let's just be honest. I took this to work. And then on break, I decided to work on this. And the first place that I went with my metal control panel to try to, attack some of that residue, to attack some of that, the paint on there, was I put it in a blasting cabinet. Now you could do what I'm about to do in a blasting cabinet. You could do a bunch of chemicals, a lot of acetone would have probably eaten away a lot of that adhesive and the paint and all that. But listen, you're probably gonna use a lot of acetone, and you got to get a rag. You can't use like paper towels because it eats up the paper towels. You got to saturate it. It gets all over your hands. So you got to get some gloves, and it can make a mess. So, but that is definitely a legit way you can do it. Hit it with some maybe Gooby Gone or some kind of a chemical stripper, and then take your flat blade, whatever stripper, I guess is what that is. Flat blade stripper. It sounds like you could take something flat and you could just sort of spoon that off, and you got this glove, and then you got the chemicals left. So you can totally do that. But if you've got access to a blasting cabinet, if you know somebody that's got one, definitely go this route if you can, because the cleanup is zero, and it's just better. If you're worried about the environment, this is better for the environment. I'm actually using, and to get even more tree hugging on you, we're using walnut shells. We're not using sand. And it's in the blasting cabinet, and it's just, recycled. So put it in there, and then I go ahead and close this up, and I'm just you can see I'm just blasting this stuff away, and it's eating up all of the adhesive. That you can see that's how thick that adhesive was that was left behind. So if you try to hit this with some chemicals, I mean, some kind of a flat strippers are generally quite rare. Well, and they're underpaid. They're all, they're also Mark. They're underpaid. So if you see a flat stripper, tip her extra. I guess I don't know. She's just doing what she can. What she's got. Wow. So, but you can see that it's a pretty thick layer of adhesive it's left. So I was so glad that that we weren't using the plastic habit this day, so that I could just really get after it. It took some time, but man, it was just it was a better way to go. And because we were using the walnut shells and not the sand, it didn't really profile the metal. You know, that's what happens when it aggressively hits the metal, and then it leaves like a rough edge after it's done. So the walnut shells don't do that. But this is great. It actually gets the see, it's taking all the paint off. That's the one part of the control panel that actually gets some paint, is the black little points there on the side. And yes, it was incredibly satisfying to do this. This was awesome. And you know, blasting cabinets are not that expensive. If you plan on doing a lot of this, you could get one at Harbor Freight for not that much. So, okay, here's some of my metal fabrication. If you've seen OCC, if you've seen American Choppers, if you've seen that stuff, this is exactly what they did on their show. Well, okay, maybe not near as cool, but what I'm doing here is at the point, and this far, I guess that's the first player. I think it's the first player. Right there at the point, somebody just, it's almost like the cab was dropped and the control panel was smashed right there on the tip. So what I'm trying to do is I've got a big chunk of, it's actually like a stainless steel shaft. I've got that shoved in the corner, and I'm wailing on it with a hammer to try to push that out, because I can't really get in there with a hammer. The hammer is too large. I can't really get in and focus just on that. And I want to maintain that radius. So as I'm beating on that, I'm hitting it with a round surface. So the impact is pushing it out like that. It's not a single point. If you try to use something pointy, you're gonna end up making smaller dents in the right direction, but there's still more smaller dents that you're gonna have to deal with later. So this is what I'm doing, and I'm taking a little bit of aggression, and yes, it feels very, very good. Get in there, and as I'm sort of working it, smacking it, feel around, see if I got all the divots out, and then smack it again, and smack it again, and then drop it on the floor, and then smack it again. But what you're gonna see here, yeah, okay, Fox, there you go, nail it. And bringing this up, now you can see, I'm going to zoom in here for a second, and you can actually see kind of what I did there. Let's go ahead, and I'll bring up a picture to show you. Now, this is the after. This is the after. This is after I smacked it, and then I hit it with a little bit of a Scotch-Brite to kind of clean that up. But you can see there's this hole that we're kind of zoomed in on right there at the point, and it's a little bit out of shape. It's egg-shaped. And then there's these dark black, those are actual divots where this whole thing was smashed in. So as I was able to beat that out, it pushed that out, but it left these things. These sort of remained. These remained after that process. So they're so small and so deep that I'm going to have to go back in with some metal filler, which I do a little bit later. And it's a 2-part epoxy. It's JB Wells. You can get it at Home Depot. And that's actually where I got it. Small. I got it's like it's $5, $4, and they're 2 small little containers that you just mix together, just like epoxy, 2 parts. You smear that up, and then you can lay that. It's good for very, very small imperfections. You can fill that metal, and then you can sand it smooth. It's actually sandable, and then you can sand that smooth. So there's that, and we got. We got a $4.99 super chat from Ezekiel, the Chicago Retro Ranger. OCC Senior versus Junior. Haha. Awesome show. Absolutely. Oh, I used to watch them back when they first started. I watched that show for a long time. My inspiration. So anyway, so that's what it looked like after. That was definitely not the before. The before was rough. So let's go back to the video, pick up where we left off. You can see that. Now here is where I had to actually, because we've got that hole in the middle, I had to go ahead, and I couldn't, the holes I could weld, the holes I could fill in with the MIG welder, and you can kind of add a little bit of material all the way around, and then you can eventually fill in that hole. You can't do that with that big piece in the middle that's missing. So this is what I'm doing here, is I'm actually, move this back. I'm just cutting. I got a piece of metal and I put it from behind inside the control panel, and I trace that out, and then I cut out just a slug of metal. So that's what I'm doing there. And then unfortunately, this is where the video is going to stop with that awesome image of throwing sparks, which is something I absolutely love to do. But that's where the video stops because I couldn't really film the welding process, but I did take some pictures for you. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen most of these pictures already. So here's what I did. I took that piece of metal that I cut, and I traced it out again to fill in this hole. I traced that out, and then I made it a little bit small. So I ground it down with a flap wheel all the way around to give myself a little bit of an edge or a gap between these two pieces of metal. Here's another shot. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using the magnet on the back of this level, this little short 6-inch level. It's got a magnet on the back, and I'm sticking that to the control panel, and I put the piece on the back side so that they're flush where it matters. Where my hands are going to be, I want this to be nice and flush. So I center it up in the hole. There's a little bit of a gap all the way around. And you can see I've already started some of the welding. If you look all the way to the right, those two small holes where the guy just ran screws into the damn machine. It's so sad. I went ahead and I plugged those. And then at the top corner, you can kind of see that very corner, that tip, that's where the control panel kind of got smashed in. And I wanted to weld that up so that it wouldn't separate anymore. And I also added a little bit of material that I could also then grind down. So some of those divots you saw, I just pulled a weld, just actually hit the trigger, and filled that up with metal. And then I, with a grinder and a flapper wheel, ground that down. What you want to do is you want to use metal as much as you can. Now, I know I'm probably getting into the weeds a little bit. This may not be something you're comfortable with, but if you've got some welding experience, if you got some time, you can definitely tackle this. Or you can also take it to a shop and have them do it for you. And then when it was all said and done, this is what it looks like. Ugly, but all the holes are filled. You can see there's a lot of this hole right there, the upper right, as you're looking at it. It gave me a lot of trouble. It was really egged out. And I made the problem a little bit worse when I went to try to put a piece of metal on the backside to add the material to pull that weld, to pull that metal up, and it actually welded it together. So I had to tear it apart. It was really frustrating. But you can see by the type of weld that I did, the other 3 holes turned out nice. They filled in nice. So it was no big deal. Now, I used a MIG welder. This is a wire welder. If you're going to try this at home, if you've got a wire welder, a lot of hobbyists have this. You can absolutely do this. Just take your time, set your heat properly, and away you go. You don't want to melt it and get it any worse. Also, the big plug metal piece in the middle, you can see my small individual welds. I moved around that so you don't heat up one portion of the control panel or the metal too much. You don't want to weld in one spot for too long. You want to move around, because think about it. This is a flat metal piece and your hands are going to be on it. You're going to be, with your control panel, right? Your hands are on it. You're banging away. If this thing, if the heat gets too much, it's going to distort it and warp it, and it's going to dome in the middle, or maybe dome or get warped. You don't want that. You want this to stay as flat as possible. I had a little bit of that, but because I kept the heat moving and because I had fans going in the shop, I was able to keep that to a minimum, and then I could just kind of lay that down on some metal and smack it a little bit and kind of flatten that out. So that is what that looked like there. After the welding process, all the holes are filled, so that's good. And then after much grinding and sanding, I was able to come up with this. You can see it. It is right before I put any paint on it. There it is. You can see it's nice and flat. It's smooth. It really came out nice. Bead blasting it in the blasting cabinet made a huge difference. It really cleaned that up. Filling all those welds, you can barely even tell, right? If you look at the front, you can barely even tell where I welded. That's a lot of that flapper wheel, and it's like a sanding disc for a grinder. And I just run that back and forth, and that really makes that disappear. The blobs, the gray blobs that you see, that's that JB weld that I mixed up and filled in some of those holes. This is not going to be perfect, but it's going to be way better than what it was, and it's also not going to cost me $300 like the one on eBay. So that is where it's at. And now I've actually got it in paint, and the paint is drying, and it looks really good, and I'm ready for the artwork. And I'm also ready to tell you the game. Now, we had some people in the chat already ruin it for everybody. Well, you didn't ruin it for everybody. You didn't ruin it for everybody, but I need to go ahead. Where is it? Oh, let me get this real quick. I want to share this with you. I'm sorry I didn't download this before, but I'm going to do this now. I'm going to do this now. We're going to do it live. We're going to do it live. Let me go to my downloads. I think I can share it this way. Here it is. Yep, this should be it. Okay, so this is a little bit of a preview of the artwork. It's going to tell you what the game is, and strap in. Get ready. Here we go. This is the actual control panel overlay that I have ordered. It's made me printed right now. It's not here yet. Here you go. I know you're thinking, wow, this is incredibly boring. That's right, because this is a Raiden 2 control panel. This is going to be a Raiden 2 cabinet. FabTech, for those of you who don't know, FabTech distributed these games, and their cabinets were incredibly plain. That's what they were. That's what they were. So I'm going to recreate that. I'm going to take just a few liberties, but I'm going to, for the most part, I am going to recreate a Raiden cabinet as you would have seen it in the wild. Now, the things that I've added differently. Now, if you go to like Game On Graphics, for example, and you order a control panel overlay for the Raiden 2 or FabTech, any one of those like Raiden 1, Raiden 2, Raiden DX, Jet, I mean, all those things, right? All those games that came out that were distributed by FabTech, you're going to get this generic gray control panel that you see right now. What I did is I added the Raiden controls, which are legit. Those came on some of the cabinets. Usually that artwork is found on the actual bezel, but I took and I broke it in half and I put it on the control panel, and you can kind of tell. It's tough to see. The one on the left is outlined in red, and the one on the right is outlined in blue. They say different things. It's in English, but they're red and blue because that's how the cabinets are going to be set. This cabinet's going to be set up. The majority of them were. If you look at images, they're usually rough and raw, and it doesn't really look good. There's a way you can mass produce a cabinet and have artwork that's fairly similar, so you can just, Neo Geo style, right? Same cabinet, different games. All you would do is you would swap out the marquee. That's basically what they did, but the tactic that they used was kind of rushed and kind of weak, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to take their inspiration, or we're going to take their idea, right? And we're going to sort of use a little bit of artistic liberties, and we're going to class it up just a little bit. So we're going to take that. We're going to have red for player 1, blue for player 2, all new controls. I am so freaking excited about this. And this really reminds me of the Street Fighter cabinet that I had years ago. I shared pictures of that on stream. I don't know if I have any of those pictures. I should have queued some of those pictures up too, but it was, I love that cabinet. It was an HS1, and it had a lot of water damage on the bottom of the cabinet. So I had to scab on about 4 or 5 inches of material to get it up to the height that it should have been. But, it was a great cabinet, but the HS5 is so much better because it has that box that it sits on. So it keeps that side panel elevated. It's so nice. Basically the same control panel and all that. So I love this. I absolutely love this. I'm glad I have one real arcade machine. And I think that if you've got the room, if you've got the space, I think, and if you've got a game in your head that is kind of off, it's kind of crazy, they're probably not going to make it, like Raiden. I think you need to go out and need to find it. Another one that comes to mind is Primal Rage. Not everybody's favorite. I get it. But here's one thing to consider. It was fun. There was a sequel that never was released. I think there was like one game made. There's like one PCB made. And I think it's a Galloping Ghost. And if all things go well, next weekend I'll be playing it because I dig those games. I know they're not perfect, but I dig them. But another thing that makes it rare is not that everybody hates it, but it's hard to emulate. And there's versions out there. There's ports, but there's no true, as far as I know, there's no real one-to-one true reproduction of that. I think even the MAME version is not quite there. So Primal Rage is an example of something that, hey, they're probably not going to do because they don't think it's mainstream enough. They don't see the value in it. But if you dig it, if you're into it, maybe you go find that. Maybe you build that cabinet, and you have your 3/4 scale stuff. Listen, Street Fighter. Would you build a Street Fighter cabinet? Maybe, but it's not necessary. You can play it in a million different ways, and you can get a decent arcade one-up recreation of it And if you don't like this one, just wait a year. They're going to come out with another one. That's what they do. Mortal Kombat's the same way. Pac-Man, I mean, if you want a full-size Pac-Man, rock on. But dude, they're going to be making 4 or 5 a year until the company shuts their doors. That's just the way they're going to do it. So if you've got that game in mind and you think it's weird, you think nobody's going to do it, well, then why don't you build it yourself? Build it yourself. Either go find the cab and then fix it up, which is so fun. I mean, listen, restoring stuff is so fun. It's absolutely to bring something back to life. And it's easier if it's a one-for-one swap. If you buy your cab, if you buy your Primal Rage cab, let's say, the PCB is good, the monitor's pretty good, you're just going to do nothing but have fun, because then you just buy a wiring harness and you get to plug that in, and you get to take the buttons out one at a time, replace them. It's so satisfying. Maybe take that control panel off, clean it up. Maybe you just got to clean it up and hit it with a fresh coat of paint. Order that new artwork. It's so much fun and it's so satisfying. Why do you think the car restoration business is as big as it is? It's just you're breathing life into something that maybe it's not going to get a second life. Maybe it's not going to get represented in the 3/4 scale market. That's my suggestion to you. So I guess to step back and look at my personal arcade, the decisions that I'm making, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the Raiden cabinet. I'm going to make I think it's going to be a little slicker version of what Fabtech had in mind. I'd like to get a couple of those PCBs. The games that aren't emulated well or don't have another, I don't think I'm going to get Raiden 1, maybe to complete the collection, but Raiden 1, you can play at a lot of different places. Raiden 2 is I just love that. Maybe Raiden DX, which is just an enhanced version of Raiden 2. That'd be kind of sick to have those. Those two boards would be really awesome. I'd like to have that. So I want to have what I would consider to be a mass-produced American-style cabinet. So that's what I got. This is what I'm rocking. I got another one coming. So unless something goes crazy, I'm going to get my hands on. I've already contacted someone. I'm getting it set up. I'm going to get a candy cab. Sega Astro City candy cab. More details will be coming, but that's what I want to have. I want to have that type of cabinet represented in my arcade. I think that's what I want to do. I don't want to try to find each individual game out there full size. It gets crazy. I'd love to have a stand-up Sega Star Wars trilogy, maybe. But for right now, I'm going to have the American generic sort of mass-produced cabinet in the HS5. Raiden, rocking those vertical shooters, because that's another game I just don't think that they're going to make. And I don't see a lot of shmups being represented in their correct aspect ratio with the correct screen orientation by RK1 I'm not seeing it. And while there's some good ones on the arcade, it's a horizontal screen. Yeah, is what it is. So I want to have that. I'm going to have a candy cab. And I don't know what other games I'm going to have, but I think those two styles of arcade machine I want to have represented in my arcade. I love both. They're very distinct, but they are both sort of mass produced. The candy cab had everything in it. And the cool thing about the candy cab, similar to what I'm doing with this Fabtech, is that the branding is sort of generic and it's very limited as far as the game you're going to put in it. So the Fabtech's going to have limited artwork, and it's mostly going to be Fabtech. It's not going to be the game it's inside. You're going to have very limited stuff. Now, my version of it's going to be a little more, I'm going to have a little more Raiden flair on this because I love Raiden and Raiden 2 specifically. But the candy cabs are very similar. So what I'm doing is bear with me. You're going to have to go with me on this ride. I'm going to be importing a candy cab from China. Yeah. One cab. So I'm not doing this in bulk. So I'm going to give you the lowdown on the individual experience. And if things go well, I'm going to tell you how you can do the exact same thing. It's actually it's more affordable than you think, especially if you take the time to check out the candy cab market in the US. It is insane. It's absolutely nuts. There's one guy in California on eBay that has a Blast City, which is not the one I want. And he wants $2,500 for it. But then you got to go pick it up. So this route's going to be a little bit different. And I'm going to get the cab that I want. So let's look at the poll real quick before I hang up the phone, before we shut this bad boy down. And let's look at, 85 votes. Not bad. I know it's a slow night. Wanted to get to 100, but that's okay. I'll let you slide this one time. 85 votes. The question was, do you currently or have you ever owned a real arcade? Out of 86 votes, We're going to go to in the poll now. 73% say, yeah, I either currently have one or I've owned one in the past. It says a lot. It says a lot because that inspired this whole 3/4 scale movement. Some of the games, some of the rarity of the games, getting those re-releases is definitely a way that this was an inspiration for sure. But I think the physicality of the hobby, owning a big thing that plays your game, is so counter to what's going on right now as far as media is concerned. Digital media versus physical media. We're not just talking about discs anymore. We're talking about things. We're losing everything. We're renting everything. We don't own anything. That's what society, entertainment industries, they're sort of pushing us to this. And it's been going on for quite some time, especially with movies and even games. And to some of that, you're going to be hooked by the convenience of it. But do you really own it? I think that's the thing that's really pushing me to get back into this hardcore. And as far as, the 3/4 scale, I would consider myself to be hardcore, but I got to have the real deal represented in my arcade to show that inspiration. Have to do it. And we're going to do that by at least 2 examples, maybe more. I can't go crazy because, like you, I'm limited on space. I can't just lose my mind. So I gave it a lot of thought, and that's what I want to do. So I hope you're enjoying the cabinets that you currently have. And I hope that maybe if you've got your eye on one, that you can find it at a decent price. But don't be intimidated by a cab that's maybe not in perfect shape. If you've got all the money in the world and you can afford to spend thousands of dollars and get it prestige, great. But if it's not prestige, it's mint. Yeah, we'll go with mint. If it's not exactly in the condition you want, don't be intimidated. You can do it. You can tackle it. And, you see, I'm doing it, and the stuff that maybe I'm doing, you can have somebody help you out. And, it makes it even that much more special. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are digging the content. Let me know what you think about this format, this kind of new way I'm doing some of my videos. Instead of just putting out a video that's edited, I want to kind of have a conversation with you because I think this is a little more, Mark, maybe? Is that it? I don't know. I'm going to have to write that one down. I have to look it up. But I don't know. I kind of have a lot of fun doing it this way, having a conversation. It's a little more fun. And I like seeing what you guys are doing, what you're into. It's nice to know there's a lot of people out there that also have a bunch of physical cabs. The real, not the physical cab, but the real cab, right? The full size version that you're maintaining those. The big thing is going to be CRTs. And I'm luckily I'm going to be able to get one from somebody who's going to have to build it for me, but it's going to cost $300. So Unico, where you at? Where are you at? I need my 26-inch LCD, but that may be a topic for another video. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.